That's a $75 violation for unauthorized vehicle idling in a designated school zone. The woman blocking my daughter's path wore a crisp navy blazer over a white silk blouse and charcoal pencil skirt, her designer heels clicking against pavement as she thrust a laminated notice toward Emma's face. A Bluetooth headset blinked at her ear like a tiny blue threat. "Ma'am?" I said, keeping my voice level. "My daughter is 9 years old. She doesn't owe you anything." "Then you pay the fine, Mr. Garrett." She tapped her tablet screen. "Or Emma walks to Riverside Elementary. 3 miles. Your choice." I looked down at my daughter. Her shoulders were up around her ears, her new backpack suddenly too heavy. The same backpack she'd been so excited about this morning. "Dad," Emma whispered, "do I have to give her money?" That's when I knew this woman, this self-appointed queen of our quiet Austin neighborhood, had made a catastrophic mistake. She'd threatened my child, and she had absolutely no idea who she was threatening. My name is Marcus Garrett. I'm 58 years old, Deputy Chief of the Austin Police Department's South District. 26 years on the force, 3 commendations for bravery, 2 medals for distinguished service, and 1 very embarrassing incident involving a runaway pig at the county fair that we don't talk about anymore. I've negotiated hostage situations where the suspect had a gun to someone's head, and I had exactly 30 seconds to convince him life was worth living. I've dismantled drug operations that stretched from Austin to the Mexican border, involving players who wouldn't hesitate to put a bullet in a cop's head. I've talked down a man with a sawed-off shotgun who was convinced his neighbor was controlling his thoughts through a ceramic garden gnome that allegedly received signals from a government satellite. That last one took 4 hours. The gnome was evidence for 3 months. We eventually returned it. The neighbor put it right back in her garden, which I thought showed remarkable courage or a complete lack of self-preservation instinct. I've seen violence, corruption, desperation, and cruelty in forms most people can't imagine. I've held dying colleagues in my arms. I've knocked on doors at midnight to tell parents their child wasn't coming home. I've watched good cops burn out, and bad cops get away with it because the system isn't perfect and justice isn't always just. But I'm good at my job. I'm very, very good at it. Not because I'm the toughest or the smartest or the fastest. I'm good because I'm patient. I watch. I wait. I observe. I let people show me exactly who they are before I make my move. My wife Keisha says I have the temperament of a chess player. You're always thinking 3 moves ahead. She told me once, even when we're arguing about where to go for dinner, you're calculating outcomes. She's not wrong. It's how my brain works. It's why I survived 26 years in a job that chews up and spits out officers half my age. This morning, standing at the corner of Magnolia and Elm in the Willow Ridge subdivision, a quiet collection of middle-class homes with decent schools and neighbors who actually knew each other's names, I was watching very, very carefully, because the woman currently terrorizing parents at a public school bus stop had just made the biggest mistake of her entitled, delusional life. She'd threatened my daughter. Her name was Diane Patterson, 52 years old, according to the background check I'd run last night. Divorced twice. No criminal record, which was about to change. She'd moved into Willow Ridge 6 months ago, buying a renovated Craftsman on Elm Street for cash $485,000, property records said. Within 2 weeks of moving in, she'd appointed herself president of the Willow Ridge Community Standards Association, a homeowners association that existed solely in her imagination, and a cheaply designed website she'd thrown together. No vote, no incorporation paperwork, no legal authority whatsoever. Just a woman with too much time, too much confidence, and a pathological need to control everyone around her. I'd been watching her operation evolve over the past 3 months. Started small messages in the neighborhood Facebook group about community standards, suggestions about lawn maintenance, holiday decoration guidelines, parking etiquette. Annoying but harmless. Then she escalated. Created the website. Printed, laminated, violation notices. Started showing up at people's homes with a clipboard and 2 guys she'd recruited as fake enforcement officers. Brad Henderson was a 43-year-old unemployed warehouse supervisor who thought this was a legitimate security job. He wore a reflective safety vest he'd bought at Home Depot and carried a clipboard like it was a badge of authority. He was sweating through his shirt by 8 a.m. every morning, clearly uncomfortable with his role, but too desperate for the $50 a day Diane paid him to quit. Rick Farmer was 20 years old, fresh out of high school, working at Subway and trying to save money for community college. Diane had convinced him this was compliance experience that would look good on a resume. He carried a roll of bright orange violation stickers and looked perpetually terrified that someone would ask him an actual question. They were her muscle, her enforcers, the visible face of her fake authority, and she'd been using them to run an extortion racket that had already netted her over $4,000 in 3 months. $4,000 extracted from hardworking people who didn't want trouble, who paid the fake fines just to make the harassment stop, who were too busy with jobs and kids and life to question whether this HOA was even real. She'd been smart about it, targeted the vulnerable, new families who didn't know the neighborhood, elderly residents who remembered when HOAs actually did enforce rules. Single parents too exhausted to fight, she'd avoided people with resources. When Stephen Martinez, an attorney who lived on Cypress Street, got a violation notice, she'd quietly refunded his fee 2 days later when he started asking questions about legal documentation. When Patricia Chen, whose brother was a city councilman, got fined for unapproved garden statuary, Diane personally showed up to apologize and void the fine. She was a predator. And like all predators, she'd developed an instinct for identifying the weak. What she hadn't developed was an instinct for identifying the dangerous. That morning, she'd looked at me, 58-year-old guy, in a comfortable fleece pullover, walking my 9-year-old daughter to the bus stop, carrying a travel mug of coffee, and seen prey. She'd had no idea she was looking at a man who'd spent a quarter century learning how to hunt predators exactly like her. I'd been building my case for 2 weeks. Documenting every violation notice, every fake fee, every threatening message. Keisha had hacked into Diane's website, technically not hacking since she left the admin login as the default password, and pulled every financial record. We had victims ready to testify. We had documentation. We had evidence. What I didn't have yet was Diane committing her crimes on camera, in public, in front of multiple witnesses, in a way that left zero room for reasonable doubt. That's what this morning was about. That's why I'd quietly tipped off Officer Rodriguez to be nearby. That's why I'd texted the neighborhood group chat to get as many parents as possible to show up. That's why I'd walked slowly, deliberately, giving Diane plenty of time to see me coming and prepare her performance. I needed her confident. I needed her bold. I needed her to make her threats as publicly and as dramatically as possible. She had the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. The kind of absolute, unwavering certainty that comes from a lifetime of getting away with small cruelties because nobody wanted to make a scene. She wore her authority like armor, the navy blazer perfectly pressed, the white silk blouse without a wrinkle, the charcoal pencil skirt tailored to suggest professional competence, designer heels that clicked on pavement like a countdown timer. Even the Bluetooth headset at her ear was a prop, a signal that she was important, connected, busy with significant matters. She'd constructed an entire persona around control and authority, and I was about to deconstruct it piece by piece in front of 20 witnesses and multiple cameras. But first, and this was the important part, I needed to let her talk. Because bullies always talk too much. They can't help themselves. The need to dominate, to explain, to justify their authority is compulsive. They escalate, they threaten, they overreach, and every word, every threat, every illegal demand is evidence. So when Diane Patterson stepped in front of my daughter with her tablet and her fake authority and her absolutely illegal demands for $75, I didn't interrupt. I watched. I waited. I let her dig her hole nice and deep, and then, when she asked who I thought I was ready to show her exactly who she'd chosen to mess with. The Willow Ridge Community Standards Association, Diane announced, her voice carrying across the intersection, has implemented new access protocols for all shared neighborhood amenities. This includes designated school transportation zones. She gestured to two men standing behind her like bodyguards. One was a sweaty guy in his 40s wearing a reflective safety vest that said "Compliance Officer." The other was barely 20, clutching a roll of bright orange violation stickers like his life depended on it. Meet Officer Brad Henderson and Junior Compliance Specialist Rick Farmer, Diane continued. They'll be conducting daily inspections to ensure all residents are in full compliance with community bylaws. I raised my hand like a student in class. Quick question. When did we vote on these bylaws? Diane's smile was pure ice. The steering committee ratified them at our organizational meeting last month. Funny, I said. I've lived here 8 years. Never got an invitation to that meeting. Well, her smile sharpened. Perhaps you should check your mail more carefully. Ignorance of community standards is not an excuse for non-compliance. Around us, I could see other parents watching, waiting. Some looked angry. Most looked scared. They'd been dealing with Diane's escalating demands for weeks now, fines for lawn height, parking infractions, unauthorized holiday decorations. She was a predator, and like all predators, she'd been testing her prey, seeing how far she could push before someone pushed back. Today, she'd pushed too far. I pulled out my phone. You know what? You're absolutely right. Let me just pay this fine right now. What was it again? $75? Diane's expression shifted to smug victory. Plus a $15 processing fee. You can scan the QR code on the notice. I held up my phone, angling it like I was about to scan. Instead, I tapped my police scanner app and set it to record. Before I pay, I said casually, can you show me the legal documentation establishing this HOA, the registered bylaws with the county clerk, the public vote authorizing fee collection? Her smile flickered. That information is available through the proper channels, because here's the thing, I kept my voice friendly, conversational. In Texas, an HOA has to be registered as a non-profit corporation. It needs articles of incorporation filed with the Secretary of State. Bylaws have to be voted on by actual property owners. And any fees or fines have to be authorized through a democratic process with proper notice. I took a step closer. So I'm just wondering, where's your nonprofit registration number? The smile was gone now. This is a voluntary community organization. That's charging mandatory fees. For access to public property. I gestured to the bus stop. This corner, public street. That bus, county school district. You're standing on government property demanding money from citizens. In my professional experience, we call that extortion. Dead silence. Diane's face had gone from confident to confused to angry in about 3 seconds. And just who do you think you are? I smiled. Not friendly. The smile I use when someone's about to have a very bad day. Deputy Chief Marcus Garrett, Austin PD South District. And ma'am, you just committed several crimes in front of a sworn peace officer. The color drained from her face so fast, I thought she might faint. Behind her, Brad, the fake compliance officer, dropped his clipboard. It hit the pavement with a plastic clatter that sounded like the beginning of an avalanche. Game on. 3 months earlier, the first sign of trouble had been subtle. My wife Keisha came home from her evening jog, pulled out her phone, and showed me a group text. It was from someone calling themselves RISA Administration, Willow Ridge Standards Association. The message read, residents are reminded that outdoor exercise equipment must be stored out of sight when not in use. Violation fee, $25. Enforcement begins Monday. What outdoor exercise equipment? Keisha asked. We have a yoga mat on the porch. Technically outdoor equipment, I pointed out. Marcus, it's a mat. I'd laughed it off then. Someone playing HOA president, probably bored and looking for a hobby. Our subdivision had never had an HOA, that was why we'd bought here. No fees, no rules about paint colors or lawn ornaments. But the messages kept coming. Week 2, trash bins must be stored in garages, not visible from street. Violation fee, $30. Week 3, vehicle parking limited to 2 cars per driveway. Additional vehicles subject to towing. Towing fee, $150. Week 4, children's toys must be removed from yards by sunset. Violation fee, $20 per item. Each message came with a QR code. Pay your compliance fee here. Most people ignored them. A few got angry. One guy, Marcus Chen from 2 streets over, actually paid the parking fee just to avoid confrontation. It's $20, he told me when I asked why. Easier than fighting about it. That was exactly what Diane was counting on. Small amounts. Not worth the trouble of fighting. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. But then she made her first real mistake. She went after old Mrs. Henderson. Sarah Henderson was 83, lived alone, had been in the neighborhood for 40 years. She kept her yard immaculate, grew prize-winning roses, and baked cookies for every kid's birthday. Diane sent her a violation notice for non-approved mailbox color and demanded $50. Mrs. Henderson's mailbox was white. It had been white since 1987. It matched every other mailbox on the street. When Mrs. Henderson called me, her voice shaking, asking if this was legal, I knew Diane had crossed from annoying to dangerous. I started investigating. Keisha, who works in IT security, helped me dig into the QR codes. They led to a payment processor registered to something called WRSA LLC, a shell company created 3 months ago. The registered agent? Diane Patterson. Every dollar paid through those QR codes went straight into her personal bank account. This isn't an HOA, Keisha said, showing me the financial trail. This is a scam. She's literally just making up rules and collecting fines from people too scared or too busy to fight back. I pulled up the Texas Property Code on my laptop. Read through the sections on HOAs, bylaws, enforcement authority. She's violating about 6 different statutes, I said. Fraud. Theft by deception. Impersonating a legal entity. So arrest her. I need more evidence. Right now, it's just payment records. I need her making the actual threats, demanding the actual money. On camera, with witnesses. So we set a trap. I looked at my wife. She had that expression. The one that meant she was about to do something brilliant and possibly illegal. What kind of trap? I asked. She grinned. The kind where we let her think she's winning. Over the next 2 weeks, we built our case with the methodical precision of a military operation. Keisha worked her magic first. She's a cybersecurity analyst for a downtown tech firm, which is a fancy way of saying she finds holes in systems for a living. She's brilliant, relentless, and has exactly 0 patience for people who think password 123 is adequate security. She sat down at our kitchen table with her laptop, pulled up Diane's website, and laughed. "Oh, honey," she said, fingers already flying across the keyboard. "This is embarrassing." She's using a free WordPress template from 2019. The payment processor is a basic PayPal integration and the admin login. She paused dramatically. The username is admin and the password is literally WRSadmin2024. You're kidding. I wish I was. This is like someone leaving their front door open with a sign saying valuables inside. She clicked through the back end. Okay, look at this. Transaction logs going back 3 months. Every payment, every fine, every victim. Names, addresses, amounts. She's kept perfect records of her own crimes. I watched over her shoulder as she downloaded everything. Spreadsheets full of data, payment records, email templates, even draft notices for future violations she was planning to roll out. She was going to start fining people for excessive barbecue smoke, Keisha said, pointing at one draft. $25 per incident. Who even defines excessive? Someone who hates fun, I muttered. But Keisha found something more important than draft notices. She found the victim list. 17 families over 3 months. $4,247.18 in total fraudulent fees. Some people had paid multiple times. The Rodriguezes had been hit for lawn violations, parking infractions, and unapproved holiday decorations. They'd paid $180 total, spread across 6 different fake violations. This isn't just a scam, Keisha said quietly. This is systematic. She's targeting the same families over and over, breaking them down, making them feel like they can't fight back. I pulled out my phone and started making a list. Every victim, every amount, every fake violation. Then I started making calls. First call was to Marcus Chen, the IT guy from 2 streets over who'd paid the parking fee. He answered on the second ring. "Marcus, it's your neighbor, Chief Garrett." "Oh, hey." He sounded wary. "Is this about the HOA thing?" "Yeah, I need to ask you some questions. But first, I need you to understand this conversation is completely off the record. I'm not here as a cop. I'm here as a neighbor who thinks we've got a problem." He relaxed slightly. "Okay, what do you need?" "Tell me about your interaction with Diane Patterson." He sighed. "It was stupid. I paid because it was easier than fighting. She showed up at my house, 7 in the morning, with those 2 guys, said my car was parked illegally in my own driveway. Said, I was violating some parking ordinance and I owed a fee. How much? $20. I know. I should have told her to get lost, but I was late for work, she was blocking my car, and honestly, $20 just to make her go away seemed worth it. Did she give you a receipt? Yeah, email confirmation. Want me to forward it? Please. And Marcus, you're not stupid. You're a victim of fraud. There's a difference. Thanks, Chief. Next, I called the Rodriguezes. Maria answered, and when I explained why I was calling, she started crying. I thought it was just us, she said. I thought we were the only ones. We're new to the neighborhood, and I didn't want to cause trouble. I didn't want people to think we were difficult. Maria, you're not difficult. You're being extorted. And you're not alone. Can you tell me what happened? She walked me through it. The lawn violation for grass being 1 inch over regulation height, the parking fine for her husband's work truck, the decoration violation because their daughter's sidewalk chalk art was not in approved color palette. She told me there was an approved list of chalk colors, Maria said, voice shaking, for children's art on a public sidewalk, and I believed her because she seemed so official. That's what she wanted. That's how scams work. They look official, they sound official. But Maria, I'm going to fix this. I need you to document everything. Every notice, every email, every payment. Can you do that? Yes, absolutely. I spent the next 3 days calling every victim on Keisha's list. Every single one had the same story. Diane showing up with her clipboard and her enforcers. Fake violations, threatening language about liens and towing, pressure to pay immediately. Every single one thought they were alone. By the end of the week, I had 17 signed statements. 17 people ready to testify. 17 examples of the exact same pattern of fraud and intimidation. But I still needed the smoking gun, the undeniable, caught on camera, in front of witnesses moment that would make prosecution slam dunk simple. That's when Emma came to me. It was Sunday evening. She was supposed to be doing homework, but she'd been quiet all day. Keisha noticed first. Baby girl, she said gently. What's wrong? Emma looked up from her math worksheet, her eyes shiny with unshed tears. That lady at the bus stop, the mean one with the tablet. My protective instincts went on high alert. What about her? She said, I can't ride the bus anymore because our house is out of boundary and I need a special sticker. She said, if you don't pay the fee, I have to walk to school. The world went very, very quiet. When did this happen? My voice was calm, cop calm. The dangerous kind of calm. Friday. She was there when we got off the bus. She yelled at Tommy's mom, too. Called her a word I'm not supposed to say. Keisha's hand found mine under the table, squeezed. Warning, don't let Emma see you angry. Did she touch you? I asked. No, but she got really close. Like, Emma held her hand inches from her face, this close, and she was yelling, and Tommy started crying. That was it. That was my line. You can mess with adults all you want. They can make choices. They can fight back. They can walk away. But you start threatening children? You start making 9-year-olds afraid to get on the school bus? You make a 6-year-old cry because some fake authority figure is screaming at his mother? Game over. I went to my home office, closed the door, and made 2 calls. First call was to Jerry Morrison, my patrol supervisor. Jerry, it's Marcus. I need a favor. Chief, what's up? Tomorrow morning, 7:45, Magnolia and Elm. Bus stop. I'm going to need a unit standing by on a side street. I'm expecting probable cause for arrest on fraud and harassment charges. There was a pause. Jerry's been in the department 30 years. He knows when to ask questions and when to just execute. Official business? Let's call it community policing with a high probability of felony arrest. He laughed, short and sharp. I'll send Rodriguez. He's good with civilians and he likes a show. Perfect. Tell him plain clothes, unmarked car, stay out of sight until I signal. You got it, Chief? This the HOA thing? Yeah, about damn time. My sister lives in your neighborhood. She told me about that woman. Said she's been terrorizing people for months. Not after tomorrow. Second call was to Keisha's cell, even though she was just downstairs. Hey, baby. She answered, amused. You know you could just come talk to me, right? Need you to do something. Her tone shifted to serious. What do you need? Post in the neighborhood chat. Tell everyone to show up at the bus stop tomorrow morning. As many people as possible. Parents, grandparents, anyone who wants to see justice served. But don't say why. Just say it's important. You're doing this tomorrow, she threatened Emma. She made Tommy cry. Yeah, I'm doing this tomorrow. Okay. I could hear the pride in her voice. Okay, I'll light it up. We'll have a crowd. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed going over every detail, every piece of evidence, every legal statute, every potential defense her lawyer might raise. Keisha rolled over, put her head on my chest. You're thinking too loud, she mumbled. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Just be smart tomorrow. Let her commit the crimes. Don't tip your hand until she's all the way in. I know how to run a sting, babe. I know you do. But this one's personal. She lifted her head, looked at me in the darkness. Don't let personal make you sloppy. She was right. This was personal. Emma's scared face. Tommy's tears. Maria Rodriguez crying on the phone because she thought she was alone. That's why I needed to be perfect. Not for revenge, for justice. So when I walked Emma to the bus stop Monday morning, I was calm, focused, professional. And when Diane Patterson stepped in front of my daughter and demanded money, I was ready. I let her talk, let her threaten, let her perform for her audience of intimidated parents. I documented every word, every illegal demand, every threatening gesture, and when she finally asked who I thought I was, I smiled because I'd been patient. I'd built my case. I'd gathered my evidence. And now it was time to show Diane Patterson exactly what happens when you threaten a cop's kid. What happened next was beautiful chaos, orchestrated by karma and captured by multiple cameras. Brad, the fake compliance officer, tried to run. His brain finally caught up with the situation. He was standing next to a woman being confronted by a cop, and he'd been helping her commit crimes for weeks. The survival instinct kicked in. He made it approximately 6 feet before Officer Rodriguez, who'd been sitting in his unmarked Charger 1 block over, monitoring my texts, stepped out of the car and planted himself directly in Brad's escape route. Rodriguez is 6'3", 240 pounds of solid muscle, and has a face that suggests he's seen everything and been impressed by none of it. He looked down at Brad, the way a house cat might observe a particularly stupid mouse. Morning, Rodriguez said pleasantly, his voice carrying that particular cop calm. That means you're about to have a very bad day. Taking a walk? Brad froze like a deer in headlights. All the blood drained from his face. I was just I need to get to work. Work? Rodriguez pulled out his notepad with theatrical slowness. You mean your compliance officer job? The one where you help extort money from hardworking families? I didn't know it was illegal. She said it was legitimate. Stick around, Rodriguez suggested. It wasn't really a suggestion. He gestured to the curb. Have a seat right there. We're going to have a conversation very soon about your role in all this. Brad sat. He looked like he might cry. Rick, the violation sticker kid, had gone completely catatonic. He just stood there holding his roll of orange stickers, his mouth opening and closing like a fish, no sound coming out. Someone's grandmother, Mrs. Patterson, from 3 houses down, walked over and gently took the stickers from his hands. There you go, dear, she said kindly, like she was helping a lost child. You just sit down next to your friend. Everything's going to be okay. Rick sat. It was not going to be okay. Diane, to her credit, tried one last desperate bluff. She drew herself up to her full height, about 5'6" in the heels, and pointed a trembling finger at me. This is harassment, she said, her voice shaking but still trying for authority. I am performing lawful community oversight as president of the Willow Ridge Standards Association. You have no jurisdiction over HOA business. I pulled out my phone, opened my voice recorder app. The red recording light had been on this entire time. Let me get this straight, I said, my voice loud enough for everyone to hear. You're claiming to be president of a homeowners association? Yes, an association that was never voted on by residents, never incorporated with the state, never registered as a nonprofit, and has no legal standing whatsoever? Her mouth opened, closed. And you've been using this fake authority to collect money from residents under threat of property liens, vehicle towing, and denial of access to public services? That's not. You're twisting my words. I'm recording your words, ma'am, and I've got 17 signed statements from people you've defrauded over the past 3 months. I held up the phone. Plus financial records showing every dollar you collected going straight into your personal account. Plus, this lovely video of you threatening my 9-year-old daughter and attempting to deny her access to county-provided school transportation. Around us, the crowd of parents had grown. Word had spread fast. People were coming out of their houses, coffee cups in hand, watching the show. Mr. Chen stepped forward from the crowd, holding up his own phone. I recorded her threatening to tow my car last week. Want me to send it to you, Chief? Please do. Rodriguez, get his statement. Rodriguez pulled out his own phone. On it, Mrs. Rodriguez raised her hand like she was in school. I have screenshots of every fake violation she sent me. 6 of them. Total of $180. Save those. Detective Williams is going to want to see them. Even sweet Mrs. Henderson, who'd been watching from her porch across the street in her bathrobe and slippers, called out in her wavery elderly voice, Marcus dear, do you need my mailbox photos? I documented when she said my white mailbox violated color standards. Yes, ma'am. Text them to Keisha. She'll forward them to me. Diane looked around at the circle of people she'd been terrorizing for months, all of them now smiling, all of them now empowered, all of them now holding phones with evidence, and I saw the exact moment she realized she'd lost. Not just lost, annihilated. Her face went through a fascinating journey. From angry red to pale white to a kind of grayish green that suggested she might actually be sick right there on the sidewalk. I have a lawyer, she stammered. You can't just... This is entrapment. Entrapment. I couldn't help myself, I laughed. Ma'am, entrapment is when law enforcement induces someone to commit a crime they wouldn't otherwise commit. You've been running this scam for 3 months. I didn't induce anything. I just watched, documented, waited for you to commit your crimes in the most public, undeniable way possible. I gestured to the crowd, in front of about 40 witnesses, during morning rush hour, at a school bus stop, while threatening a child. Officer Rodriguez, who'd been taking Brad's statement, looked up. Chief, this one says he wants to cooperate, says he's got text messages from Mrs. Patterson instructing him to target specific families. Excellent. Make sure those are preserved as evidence. Already screenshotting them to my secure email. That's when Detective Sarah Williams pulled up in her unmarked sedan. She must have been monitoring the radio traffic. She stepped out, took one look at the scene crying, suspect, crowd of witnesses, 2 terrified accomplices sitting on the curb, and grinned like a shark. "Chief," she said, walking over with her badge displayed, "please tell me this is what I think it is. Fake HOA, running a 3-month extortion racket, multiple victims, documented threats, fraudulent fee collection. I need a full investigation and arrest warrant." Williams pulled out her own recorder. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm Detective Sarah Williams with APD Financial Crimes Division. I need to ask you some questions about the Willow Ridge Standards Association and the fees you've been collecting." Diane's mouth worked, but no sound came out. She looked desperately at Brad and Rick, but they were both staring at the ground, already singing their hearts out to Rodriguez about everything Diane had made them do. No help there. She looked at the crowd of neighbors, but they were all holding up phones, recording, documenting, finally fighting back. No help there either. She was alone, completely, utterly alone. The empire she'd built on fear and fake authority had collapsed in about 15 minutes. "Officer Rodriguez," I said formally, "would you mind taking Mrs. Patterson's statement?" "My pleasure, Chief." Rodriguez stepped forward, pulling out his notepad. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to explain the nature of your organization, starting with your legal authority to collect fees from residents." While Rodriguez handled Diane, I turned to Brad and Rick. "Gentlemen," I said, "here's how this is going to work. You're going to give me your full names, addresses, and written statements about your involvement in this operation. You're going to tell me every single thing she asked you to do, every fee you helped collect, every threat you helped deliver." Brad was already nodding frantically. "I'll tell you everything." I swear I didn't know it was illegal. "Then you're an idiot," I said flatly. "But cooperate fully, and I'll talk to the DA about reducing charges." Rick managed to squeak out, "Are we going to jail?" "Depends on how helpful you are in the next 5 minutes." They sang like songbirds. Turns out Diane had recruited them through a Craigslist ad looking for community enforcement assistance. She'd paid them $50 a day to follow her around, looking intimidating and slapping violation stickers on people's property. They'd thought it was weird, but hey, $50 is $50. Brad admitted he'd been uncomfortable from the start but needed the money. Rick had just graduated high school and thought it would look good on a resume. They were stupid, not malicious. I'd make sure the DA knew that. Diane, meanwhile, had lawyered up immediately. Refused to answer questions, demanded to speak to an attorney. Smart move. About 3 months too late. Rodriguez looked at me. "Want me to book her?" "Not yet. Let's make this official first." I pulled out my phone and called the station. "This is Deputy Chief Garrett. I need Detective Williams to meet me at Magnolia and Elm. I've got a fraud case that needs processing." 20 minutes later, Detective Sarah Williams pulled up in an unmarked car. She took one look at the scene, crying, suspect, crowd of witnesses, 2 terrified kids with violation stickers, and grinned. "Chief," she said, "please tell me this is what I think it is. Fake HOA, running an extortion racket, multiple victims, documented threats, fraudulent fee collection. I need a full investigation and arrest warrant." Williams pulled out her own recorder. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm Detective Williams with APD Financial Crimes. I need to ask you some questions about the Willow Ridge Standards Association." Diane's lawyer arrived 15 minutes later, clearly called before the cops showed up. He was slick, expensive looking, immediately tried to shut everything down. "My client will not be answering any questions without proper legal consultation." "That's fine." I said, "We have 17 victims willing to testify, recorded threats, financial records, and about 40 witnesses who just watched her commit extortion in front of a police officer." I smiled at him. But hey, if you want to take this to trial instead of negotiating a plea deal, be my guest. I've got time. The lawyer's expression shifted from aggressive to calculating. He pulled Diane aside, had a whispered conversation that involved a lot of her shaking her head and him looking increasingly frustrated. Finally, he came back. My client would like to discuss a settlement. Talk to the DA, I said. I'm just the arresting officer. Williams snapped cuffs on Diane. Diane Patterson, you're under arrest for fraud, theft by deception, and impersonating a legal authority. You have the right to remain silent. As Williams read her rights, I looked over at Emma. She was standing with a group of other kids, all of them staring wide-eyed at the unfolding drama. I walked over, knelt down. You okay, sweetheart? She nodded. Dad, is that lady going to jail? Probably not jail, but she's in big trouble for lying to people and taking their money. Good, Emma said firmly. Then, quieter, I was scared of her. I know. I'm sorry I didn't stop her sooner. You stopped her now. Emma hugged me. That's what matters. The school bus pulled up then, its arrival almost comically perfect timing. The door hissed open. The driver, a wonderful woman named Rosa who'd been driving this route for 20 years, leaned out. We having a party out here, or are these kids going to school? School, I called back. All clear, Rosa. Emma grabbed her backpack, gave me one more quick hug, and ran for the bus. Before she got on, she turned back. Dad, can I tell my friends you arrested the mean lady? You can tell them whatever you want, baby. She grinned and climbed aboard. As the bus pulled away, Keisha appeared beside me. She'd been watching from our car. How you feeling? She asked. Good. Tired. Satisfied. That's my cop. She took my hand. Come on. You've got paperwork to do. Don't I always? The aftermath played out exactly as I'd expected. Diane Patterson, faced with overwhelming evidence and the prospect of multiple felony charges, took a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to fraud and attempted theft, got 3 years probation, 300 hours of community service, a $5,000 fine, and a restraining order keeping her away from the neighborhood. All the money she'd collected, $4,247.18 in total, was returned to victims. Brad and Rick got off with misdemeanor charges and court-ordered classes on not being an idiot. Officially, it was called Understanding Consumer Protection Laws, but same thing. The fake Versa website got shut down. The county clerk's office sent out a mass notice to every resident explaining that no HOA existed and never had. More importantly, the neighborhood changed. People who'd been isolated, who thought they were alone in being targeted, realized they had support. We started an actual, real, legitimate neighborhood association, one with elected officers, transparent bylaws, and absolutely zero authority to fine anyone for anything. Mr. Chen became treasurer. Mrs. Henderson became our unofficial grandmother and chief cookie supplier. The Rodriguezes organized monthly potlucks. We even got Brad to help out sometimes. Turned out when you took away the fake authority and just asked him to help neighbors with yard work, he was actually a decent guy. 2 months after the arrest, I got a call from the Austin American-Statesman. They wanted to do a story about the fake HOA. I declined. The victims have been through enough. They don't need their names in the paper. The reporter understood, but he did write a piece about HOA scams in general, using our case as an anonymous example. It won a state journalism award. Keisha framed it and hung it in my home office. Under it, she put a little placard. Sometimes the best weapon against bullies is patience and good documentation. She wasn't wrong. 6 months later, on a perfectly normal Tuesday morning, I walked Emma to the bus stop. No drama, no fake compliance officers, no threats. Just parents drinking coffee, kids comparing homework, and the comfortable chaos of a normal school morning. Rosa pulled up in the bus. Emma waved goodbye and climbed aboard without a second thought. No hesitation, no fear. That was the real victory. Not the arrest, or the plea deal, or the news coverage. It was watching my daughter get on the bus without being afraid. Mr. Chen walked over, handed me a travel mug. Extra coffee. You look like you need it. Rough night, budget meeting. Better you than me, Chief. We stood there in companionable silence, watching the bus pull away. You know, Chen said after a moment, I never thanked you properly for dealing with Diane. You didn't need to thank me. That's my job. No, he looked at me seriously. Your job is public safety. This was personal. You did this for Emma and every other kid she was terrorizing. That's different, I shrugged. Can't separate the two. Keeping kids safe is public safety. True, he grinned. But the look on her face when you told her you were a cop? That was personal enjoyment. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Okay, yeah, that part was pretty satisfying. Mrs. Henderson called from her porch across the street. Marcus, dear, I made banana bread. Come get some before the squirrels do. Yes, ma'am. As I walked across the street, I thought about everything that had happened. The weeks of investigation, the careful documentation, the satisfaction of watching a bully realize she'd picked the wrong target. But mostly I thought about Emma's face this morning. Happy, relaxed, safe. That was what mattered. Not peace and quiet, though I still loved those things. Not revenge, though. Watching Diane get arrested had been deeply satisfying. Just the simple, profound knowledge that my kid could go to school without fear. Everything else was just details. Mrs. Henderson handed me a still warm slice of banana bread. How's our favorite deputy chief? Tired but good. You look happy. I am. And I was. Because sometimes the path to real peace isn't avoiding conflict. It's standing up to bullies with patience, evidence, and the certain knowledge that authority without legitimacy is just noise. And noise, eventually, always gets shut down. Diane Patterson had learned that the hard way. The rest of us, we'd learned something better. That communities get stronger when people stand together. When they refuse to be isolated and intimidated. When they choose courage over convenience. Was it worth it? The investigation, the confrontation, the bureaucracy? I looked at Emma's empty seat at our kitchen table, remembered her fearless wave as she boarded the bus. Yeah, it was worth it. Every single second.